Hey everyone, I'm delighted to be joined by Mirza Redžepagić from Bosnia and Herzegovina today. Mirza is a guitar player, composer, entrepreneur, and music educator. Mirza, I want to begin by asking you, what is, in your experience, the general attitude toward pursuing a formal music education in Bosnia and Herzegovina? And when I say formal, I mean either a diploma or a multi-year degree.
Since we are the new established country, when I say new, I mean Bosnia and Herzegovina was established in 1992 after the fall of Yugoslavia, which, was a socialist country. So basically, during the socialist times, I believe it was the end of 40s and the beginning of 50s, the education plan that the Yugoslavia had was that the education for all should be free, all education. And what I mean by that, also it included music education. So at the beginning of 50s in Yugoslavia, in the whole Yugoslavia at the time, but also in Bosnia and Herzegovina, there were music schools that were opened throughout the whole country, elementary music schools that were kind of separated from the regular elementary school. And after that, you went to high school for music, and after that to the university for music. Uh, to answer your question very exact, the attitude in my country is still is in the legacy of those times, which means that still we have these music schools, which I worked in one, a teacher for 10 years. I was teaching classical guitar. And I think that is a great system because it offers to the everyone, to the small children, free music education. I remember my childhood, and I was born at the end of 80s, was that it was completely normal that every child by age of 7 or 8 start with the music classes in music school. So for example, in my class, which had around 30 students, there was at least 10 of us that went to music schools. Not all of them finished it, but they went to that. So it's a one very important actually perspective of society towards music education for the children since they were at very early age.
You mentioned a little bit about the history of Bosnia, and I want to come to that in a second. But at the university level, because you yourself are went to an institution for your formal music education, what do you find are the attitudes going to university? Do people view this as a respectable field? Is it something that they envision having careers in?
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, when you have this system that is established through the all levels of education, for example, in my case, I started with music school when I was 8 years old. And when I finished, at the same time I finished elementary school, I decided to go to high school only for music, which was also free and possible, not in my hometown, but in another town. So I went there, I moved there, and I finished my high school education for music. And after that, actually, the only logical thing for me was kind of to continue with that with the university. So with that system that shapes you since the childhood to go to to study music, there is a very positive attitude towards it because I mean, if you start playing an instrument since 8 years old, and by the time you're 18 you have almost 10 years of experience with that, and if you find yourself into the music and you want to pursue it, the university is very logical step. And I think the university in here, not only in Bosnia but in whole Balkans, it's in terms of music, it's really well developed in terms when you can, since you're coming prepared, there is a high, let's say high level established, because the university itself expect that you have the knowledge before. So it's kind of building up the all the things you need in terms to make you good artist.
Mirza, you mentioned the history of Bosnia and Herzegovina, the Yugoslavian past. If we go even further back in history, there's Austro-Hungarian influence, there's Ottoman influence, there's very rich local traditions like Sevda. Do you find that institutions prefer to offer one tradition over the other when it comes to music education? And if so, why do you think that is?
In the identity of ourselves, we always kind of aimed to prove ourselves as Europeans, you know. So I think this kind of narrative was established, especially after Ottomans, when the Austro-Hungarians came, and after the small period of kingdom of Yugoslavia before the socialist Yugoslavia was established, was basically the goal that kind of rooted the path, you know, like kind of curved the path that is followed still, and that is like most of it is totally focused on Western classical music, and that is 90% of the tradition that you're actually learning in the university itself. I mean, there is like at the Department of Ethnomusicology at the Academy that is exploring and researching all the super rich history and legacy of Balkan and Bosnian music. But yes, most of the curriculum is focused on the Western classical music.
And Mirza, you yourself as an artist have a lot of eclectic influences and tastes. So when you're educating, you mentioned you taught at an academy for 10 years. How do you approach music education? Are you strict in following the curriculum, or do you bring all your influences in the classroom?
Well, in the curriculum itself, there are some good parts that I really feel that are important for every student to learn, and that is the basics. The beautiful thing about the Western classical music tradition is that really takes care about the aesthetics of music itself, the importance of education in music, in classical music especially, the way they developed it, you know. But the thing that when I started teaching at the music school, like for the children of 8 years old until 18 years old. It was like the elementary and high school. I felt there was a lack of something that actually, especially in a guitar, it was too kind of narrowed into the only one style. And if you think about the guitar and historical aspect of guitar, it came from the East, you know, from old Persia to Spain through the Arabs, and it was kind of shaped. The guitar, the Spanish guitar, was established through flamenco. I always found out like there was not enough of information through the curriculum, you know, to the plan that was established in the system. So at the beginning, of course, with the students that I felt that are interested and that could really learn from it, I started like putting some stuff that were out of curriculum. For example, like flamenco technique, flamenco position, what you can achieve if you introduce this kind of techniques into classical guitar, what are the benefits of it. So that was kind of the idea that I had when I was teaching, like to kind of give a perspective that is not only classical, you know, but also like, let's not forget the element of popular music into guitar, like, you know, playing chords. And if you're like 12 years old, of course, that you prefer to learn a song by, I don't know, Coldplay or, you know, Pink Floyd than like some boring piece.
Mirza, thank you so much. One final question for myself, and that is there something you'd like to share about your particular experience as an educator and as a student?
I really wanted to create in Bosnia, especially in Sarajevo, in town that I'm living, like to create new things that I really feel that the young people, young musicians need it. So we established, some friends of mine, and we established kind of one record label that is not only a record label, that is kind of a organization that support young musicians. So we established workshops teaching them in songwriting, performing, producing, composing, improvisation. Also, a few weeks ago we established an ensemble that will kind of explore fusion, Balkan, jazz, flamenco music, everything that actually is interesting to young people that are from Bosnia, that are educated in our system, in Western system, but are surrounded by the environment and surrounded by the living heritage of Islamic and Eastern Ottoman culture. I assume that you know, but Sarajevo is one of the one of the jewels I like to call of Europe. We call it like Jerusalem of Europe, because you have four religions living here for centuries in peace. Not always, unfortunately, but the idea was always about peace. So, there are many cultures, many heritage, many musical influences that are still living here and that are living into these young people. So the idea we have is actually like to nurture all of that through one new language, new modern narrative, music narrative.
Thank you so much, Mirza.